Oh God, this can't be happening. I thought as I weaved my car through the maze of traffic, my pulse racing. He can't be serious. Can he? Just 30 minutes ago, I was at work, sitting in my office at the bank, guiding a young couple through the process of securing their first home loan. It had been a routine day until the call came. The police. A calm yet firm voice on the other end informed me, "Ma'am, this is Officer Cook with the county police. We need your assistance. Your husband has been seen with a firearm inside your home." A firearm? I repeated, my stomach twisting in disbelief. "Yes, ma'am. A neighbor came over to borrow something and saw him with the weapon. He appears to be making threats." There was a slight pause. Then the officer's voice dropped an octave. "Threats of taking himself out. We believe your presence could help de-escalate the situation." Taking himself out? Alex? The words felt foreign, absurd. My husband loved life. Always the happy-go-lucky type. Cracking jokes, planning fishing trips, laughing at the most ridiculous things. He wasn't the kind of man to even entertain a thought like this. Unless a fleeting thought flickered in my mind. One I shoved away almost as quickly as it surfaced. No, it couldn't be about that. Fingers gripping the steering wheel so tightly they ached. I turned onto our street, and my heart dropped. The scene before me was chaos. Police cruisers lined the block, their blue and red lights painting the neighborhood in an eerie glow. Uniformed officers crowded the perimeter of the house, their voices blending into the hum of radios crackling orders. A live news truck from Channel 5 was parked haphazardly on Old Man Parker's lawn, its camera pointed squarely at my home. My breaths came in shallow gasps as I tried to maneuver my car closer. I needed to get to him, to talk to him before this spiraled out of control. But just as I reached the police cordon, an officer stepped into my path, raising his hand. "Miss, I'm sorry, you'll need to turn around. We've got a situation here and that's my house." I screamed, my voice high and strained. "That's my husband in there." The officer blinked, studying me for a moment before stepping aside reluctantly and waving me through. I barely managed to park before I was ambushed by the local media. Microphones were thrust into my face, reporters barking questions over one another in a frenzy. "Mrs. Brown, has your husband ever shown violent tendencies? Has he attempted that before? Is this related to financial trouble or marital issues?" The questions came fast, each one more invasive than the last. I felt their cameras zero in on my face, the flashes blinding. I wanted to scream, to shove them aside, to demand they leave. Instead, I clenched my fists and pushed through, every nerve in my body focused on one goal: reaching Alex. Is he wanted for crimes anywhere else? I froze, unable to process the barrage of invasive questions from the reporters. Why won't they just leave me alone? My husband, my love, needed me, but the media had me cornered, their voices blending into a wall of noise, blocking my path to him. Before I could say a word, I felt a firm but gentle hand on my arm. An officer stepped between me and the vultures, shielding me from their relentless questioning. "This way," she said, her voice steady but kind. She guided me across the street to a van station just outside my home. Several men stood near it, huddled around a small table, their voices low and intense. "I can get a man inside right there," one of them said, pointing toward a corner of the house on a map. "He'll have a clear line of sight for a good shot." "We're not here to kill him," another replied sharply. "Our job is to help him. He's a danger to himself and my team. If he makes a move to attack—" "No," I shouted, my voice cutting through their grim discussion like a blade. All eyes turned to me, the air thick with tension. Before they could demand to know who I was, the officer who'd brought me spoke up. "This is Mrs. Brown." The man who had spoken second stepped forward, extending his hand. "Mrs. Brown, I'm Jason Harris. I'm the negotiator for the local PD. May I have a moment of your time?" Before I could respond, the first man interrupted. "We need to know how many weapons he has in there. For all we know, he could be armed to the teeth." "No," I said, cutting him off. "We don't own a gun. I don't know where he got the one you're talking about." "Must have acquired it recently," he muttered, turning to his team. "That's something. We'll start checking the local gun shops and—" I couldn't listen anymore. My voice trembled as I snapped, "Stop. You're wasting time. He needs help, not speculation." Jason raised a hand to calm me, his expression patient. "Ma'am, I understand how upsetting this is, but we need all the information we can get to handle this safely. Please, can we talk?" Reluctantly, I nodded, my heart pounding. All I could think about was Alex and the desperation he must be feeling. "Rick, Could you let me do my job before you start talking about shooting anyone? Jason's tone was sharp, and the look on my face must have driven the point home, as Rick fell silent. Are they serious about shooting my husband? The thought made my stomach churn. Jason turned to me, his demeanor softening as he gestured for me to follow him. Come with me, Mrs. Brown, he said, leading me a few steps away from the others. I need to ask you a few questions. Has your husband been showing any signs of depression lately? No, not really, I replied instinctively, but my conscience screamed, liar. The truth hovered at the edge of my mind, a shadow I couldn't quite face. There was that, but surely they didn't need to know. Jason exhaled heavily, studying me. Ma'am, may I call you Maria? I nodded silently. Maria, did you know your husband quit his job 2 days ago? What? My breath hitched. No, he couldn't have. We were just talking last night. He was so happy and… You mean happier than normal? Jason pressed gently. Well, I hesitated. We've been going through some rough patches, but I thought we'd work through them. Things were better. He was happy. Jason's voice remained calm but insistent. What kind of problems were you having? Sir, I don't see how that's relevant, I said, my voice tight. Maria, I understand this is uncomfortable, he said softly, but the more we know, the better chance we have of helping your husband. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. Before I could respond, another officer jogged up to us, his expression urgent. Jason, we've made contact with him, he said. Jason frowned. How? I thought the phone lines in the house were down. Somehow, he's managed to send a signal to the live truck across the street, the officer replied. The crew says we can use their equipment to communicate with him if we agree to let them broadcast the exclusive. Jason's jaw tightened. I don't like this. How on earth could he get a signal to them? My voice broke in, edged with a mixture of pride and exasperation. My husband used to work at that station. He was the engineer for their live truck. He installed most of the gear in there himself, so if anyone could make it work, it'd be him. Jason raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. For a brief moment, despite the gravity of the situation, I felt a flicker of pride in Alex's brilliance. But it was quickly overshadowed by the grim reality that we were even having this conversation. They led me to the news truck, and stepping inside was like stepping back in time. It looked much like I remembered, though the carpet was different, newer, a darker shade. But the overwhelming array of buttons, switches, and monitors was the same. How Alex ever kept it all straight in his head was beyond me. Inside, one of the polished reporters who had accosted me earlier was seated, speaking animatedly into a microphone. Her eyes were fixed on one of the screens, her tone a mix of practiced urgency and drama. Then my eyes followed hers to the screen, and my breath caught in my throat. Alex was on the monitor. My heart twisted at the sight of him. He looked so different, almost unrecognizable. His normally shaggy, shoulder-length hair had been hacked into a severe buzz cut. His face was gaunt, shadowed by exhaustion or despair, and he was bare-chested, his skin pale under the dim light. But none of that was what truly chilled me. It was the gun. He held it in one hand, the image slightly grainy but unmistakable. Alex, who hated guns, who had always respected my fear of them, was clutching one now. Why? What could have pushed him to this? A suffocating wave of dread swept over me, clutching at my heart. Alex! Jason's voice broke through my thoughts as he snatched the microphone away from the reporter. His tone was steady but commanding. This is Jason Harris. I'm here to help you. Shut up, Alex barked, his voice jagged with rage, despair, and something unrecognizable, a hopelessness I had never heard before. It wasn't his voice. Not the voice of my Alex, my loving husband. This was the voice of a man tormented, a man unraveling. I know what you're doing, Alex shouted, his words sharp and frantic. You're trying to stop me, but you can't. You can't. I have to do this. I can't go on. I can't live with what I've done. She can't forgive me and his voice cracked, heavy with anguish, I can't forgive myself. My legs threatened to give out beneath me. His pain was palpable, raw, and it tore through me like a blade. What had he done? What could he possibly believe was so unforgivable? Alex, who's she? Are you talking about your wife? Maria is here with me. I can put her on if you want. You can talk to her. Oh, you can't fool me. Alex cut him off, his voice rising with paranoia. She's not there. You're just trying to trick me. She wouldn't come. She hates me. How can we prove she's here, Alex? Jason asked, keeping his tone calm and steady. Show her to me, Alex demanded. Let me see her. Jason hesitated. Alex, we can't do that. Not with you holding a gun. Her safety. Then put her on the air. Split the screen. Put us in a box together. Jason turned to the reporter for clarification. What's he talking about? The woman's polished demeanor cracked just slightly as she explained. It's a common setup for TV news. We split the screen, one half showing him and the other showing her. They can talk to each other that way. Jason nodded decisively. Set it up. The reporter gestured to her team. Give us 3 minutes. We can be live. The air? You mean live? I asked, bewildered, the gravity of the situation sinking deeper. The reporter barely glanced at me as she replied, Of course, dear. How else is he going to see you? The next few minutes were a chaotic blur as the crew scrambled to set up cameras and coordinate with the station. Before I fully understood what was happening, I was sitting in front of a camera, a microphone clipped to my shirt, and a small earpiece nestled uncomfortably in my ear. And then, suddenly, his voice came through. Is that you, honey? Are you really there? Alex's voice was laced with disbelief and fragile hope. Oh, Alex! I cried, my heart breaking. What are you doing? I'm doing what I should have done 2 weeks ago, he interrupted, his tone flat and heavy. When I woke up next to Linda, I should have ended it all then, but I didn't. And now I have to pay. I can't stay here. Not after what I've done. My heart plummeted. He was still stuck on this. The affair. The guilt. I told him it was over. I forgave him. I thought we'd moved past it. But if he does this... Alex, please listen to me, I said, my voice trembling. That's all in the past. We've moved on. I forgave you. You forgave me, Alex said bitterly, his voice cracking with anguish. But I can't forgive myself. I was a good husband, a good man. But after that party, I had to ruin it. I had to. His voice faltered, and I could almost see the tears forming in his eyes through the monitor. I had to. He was still consumed by guilt, and now it was seeping into me, clawing at my insides. My own mistakes, my own guilt, they were all tangled together in this mess. I couldn't let him end it. I loved him too much to lose him, no matter how broken things had become. Damn Linda and her twisted advice. If only she hadn't. You know the funny thing, dear? Alex's voice broke through my spiraling thoughts, bitter and hollow. I can't even remember it. All I remember is being so sick the next day. It was all the drinking. Honey, I said gently, desperately trying to soothe him. You were out of your mind. Drunk. You couldn't help what happened. But I could. His voice cracked with anguish. And look what I did. I broke my vows, and I made you break them too. I felt the weight of the stares around me, the silent judgment of everyone listening. But I couldn't stop. He was too agitated, too raw. His pain was palpable, and he was serious. Oh, honey, I never should have done what I did, I said, my voice trembling. But I thought I had to get revenge on you. Mike meant nothing. But you enjoyed it, Alex interrupted, his voice rising, trembling with anger and despair. I know you did. You made me listen. I turned you into a prostitute. What kind of man does that to his wife? Honey, we can get past this, I pleaded, my heart pounding. My revenge was stupid. I should have never listened to Linda. Linda? His tone shifted sharply, suspicion cutting through the pain. I thought you didn't talk to her anymore. My stomach dropped. Panic gripped me. Oh God, think fast. She came to me, I said quickly. She apologized. She said I needed to get back at you. But I think she was projecting her own hurt. She wasn't thinking straight. Alex let out a bitter laugh, the sound chilling. Maria, I love you, but I can't do this. I can't live like this anymore. His voice cracked as he choked out. I slept with another woman. I broke your trust. I ruined us. I deserve to die. I can't live with that knowledge. Tears streamed down my face as I stared into the camera, willing my words to reach him, to pull him back from the edge. His words cut straight to my heart. Then, to my absolute horror, he lifted the gun to his head. No, he's going to do it. I can't let him. The words burst out of me before I even had time to think. You never slept with Linda. Everything went still. The room, the people, even the air seemed frozen in place. The shock was palpable, none more so than on Alex's face, or my own. I couldn't believe what I just said. I swore I'd never tell him the truth. What do you mean? He asked, his voice shaking. I woke up next to her. We were naked. She told me I can't let this go on. I interrupted, my voice trembling. She lied. He stared into the camera, his confusion plain. Then how did we drugged you, Alex? I blurted out, unable to hold back any longer. To make you think you cheated. I knew you never would, but we thought if you believed you had, you'd let me sleep with Mike. I'm sorry, honey. I just wanted to be with him. It was nothing more than that. I had to. Why would you do that? He cut in, his voice rising with anger and disbelief. What did I do to deserve that? Nothing. I cried, tears streaming down my face. It was all me. Linda kept telling me how great of a lover he was, and we were virgins when we got married. I just wanted to see what I'd missed out on. I'm sorry, Alex. You never broke your vows. You're a good man. You've always been a good man. He lowered the gun slightly, his face contorted with pain. You were going to let me think I cheated on you? How long had you planned this? How did you even drug me? Didn't you care? I could have died. I knew you wouldn't, I said quickly, desperate to justify myself. I almost called it off when you were so sick for those days, but when you got better, I decided to go through with it. We only came up with the idea a month ago. When we couldn't get you interested in Linda, this was the only way. I just had to sleep with Mike. It was something new, and I was so excited. What did you give me? Alex demanded, his voice low and trembling with restrained fury. Linda stole something from the hospital where she volunteers, I admitted, my words tumbling out in a desperate rush. I don't know exactly what it was, but it worked too well. She tried to wake you up, but you didn't. She was so excited about being with you, Alex. She was looking forward to it. His face twisted with disgust. How long, Maria? How long were you going to let me live in this hell? Tears streamed down my face as I tried to explain. Oh, honey, I thought that if we just did it once, if I got it out of my system, and then we got back to normal a few days later, we could move on. We can move past this, Alex. I still love you. Love me? His voice rose, sharp and incredulous. You call this love? Love doesn't mean drugging me. It doesn't mean plotting with someone to destroy my life. Before I could respond, Alex disappeared from the camera feed. Panic gripped me as I waited, every second dragging like an eternity. Then I heard it, the front door slamming open. I turned to see him storming out of the house, his movements erratic, his eyes wild with anguish. The gun was still in his hand, and the sight of it sent a wave of terror through me. The police shouted, their commands overlapping in a chaotic din, but Jason quickly stepped in, holding them back. Alex marched toward me, his voice a mixture of raw anger and unimaginable pain. You love me? He bellowed. Love doesn't mean trying to destroy me, Maria. It doesn't mean letting some monster violate me in my own home. The officers continued shouting commands, their voices creating a chaotic backdrop. Put the gun down. Surrender now. Jason was darting between them, desperately trying to restore order and keep the situation from spiraling out of control. I was wrong, Alex. I yelled, my voice cracking with desperation. I had to calm him down, to make him forgive me. He always forgives me, I thought. I got caught up in my obsession. I never meant to hurt you. I moved to run toward him, but an officer grabbed my arm, holding me back. Alex's face twisted in anguish, his voice raw and trembling with emotion. You made me believe I was some kind of monster, some stupid adulterer, he shouted, his pacing frantic as he moved back and forth across the yard. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Thinking I'd betrayed you so badly that you felt justified in throwing away our marriage vows with some stranger? It killed me, Maria. It killed me inside. I could feel the weight of his pain in every word as he gestured wildly, the gun in his hand adding to the tension in the air. I can't do this, he continued, his voice breaking. You betrayed me, Maria. You betrayed my trust, my love, everything we built together. You could have killed me with what you gave me, and then you turned around and tried to kill my spirit, my heart, my soul, the love I had for you. And now you think we can just go back to how things were. He stopped pacing for a moment, his eyes boring into mine, filled with an almost unbearable mix of anger and despair. What was going to happen the next time you got obsessed? Huh? He demanded. Would you drug me again? Manipulate me again? Would I end up brain dead one day, so you could have your fun guilt-free? The world around us seemed to vanish, leaving only Alex and me, surrounded by the unbearable weight of the pain I had caused. No, Alex! I screamed, my voice trembling. It was just that one time. I would never have done it again. Please believe me. I love you so much. Tears blurred my vision as the life I had known, The love we had shared slipped through my fingers. "It's over, Maria," Alex said coldly, his voice filled with finality. "I loved you. And you did this?" His eyes locked onto mine for one last agonizing moment. "Goodbye," I screamed as he raised the gun to his mouth, my heart shattering. Unable to bear it, I turned away, waiting for the deafening sound that would end the life of the man I loved. How could I have been so foolish? How could I have let my selfishness destroy everything? But instead of the explosive crack of a gunshot, there was nothing. No sound. The officer holding me shook slightly, and I realized with a jolt of disbelief, he was laughing. I turned to him, confused and horrified. His quiet chuckle sent a wave of anger and bewilderment through me. I glanced around, noticing that other officers were also suppressing laughter, some with their hands covering their mouths. What on earth was happening? Terrified, I turned back to Alex. His expression had shifted from anguish to disgust. He pulled the gun from his mouth and began coughing in a way that immediately brought to mind our cat hacking up a hairball. "Lemon?" he spat, glaring at the weapon as if it had betrayed him. "Lemon? Whose genius idea was this?" He aimed the gun at his hand and pulled the trigger several times, demonstrating its uselessness. "They're all lemons. You idiots." At that, the tension snapped, and the officers erupted into laughter, the sound echoing through the yard like an absurd mockery of the moment's gravity. "Real funny, guys," Alex muttered, glaring at the nearest officer. "But I always carry a reload." My heart froze as he reached into his pocket, pulling out a small clip and sliding it into the gun. But something about the movement was off. He raised the weapon to his mouth again, pulled the trigger, and, to my utter shock, began to chew. What was happening? The surreal absurdity of the scene left me utterly paralyzed. "Cherry. I love that flavor." Alex glanced at me, then shifted his gaze to the stunned TV reporters. "Pez." Alex's laughter echoed in my mind, a cruel reminder of how thoroughly I had been played. "Oh, you thought you could get one over on me, huh? Remember last week when I was testing out the new security equipment for Max? One of the things I tried was an electronic ear. Guess what I overheard? You and that bitch Linda, plotting your little scheme. You had me fooled, Maria. I was on the edge. But then I heard everything and I got mad." The officer who had been holding me took my arms and pulled them behind me, snapping handcuffs into place. I could feel the cold metal tighten around my wrists. "We couldn't charge you with anything before, you know? It was just your word against mine." But that's when I, along with some of the officers here, came up with this. Alex gestured to the scene unfolding around us. "We didn't count on the news van being here, but we adapted. Guess it worked out for us." He chuckled darkly. "You were so easy to fool. Now we've got you, Maria, my loving wife. And I wonder what the charges will be." "Jason, we discussed aggravated assault, right? Oh, and how about misuse of a controlled substance? Of course, Linda will be charged too. Thanks for the confession. And just so you know, it's all on live TV. Do you think your parents were watching?" The sarcasm in his voice sent a chill deep into my bones. An officer approached and slipped a blue paper into the pocket of my jacket. "You have been served at 2:18 p.m. on the 8th of June. "Thank you." "Served?" My heart sank. No, this couldn't be real. All I wanted was to experience something different, to feel young again. Just one last fling before we started our family. Before I became a mother. What? You honestly think I'd stay married to someone like you after all this? Oh, how foolish you must think I am. Alex turned to the reporter. "Apologies for misleading you, but it was the only way. My world was crumbling. This couldn't be happening. I had plans. I was going to have kids with Alex this year. We were going to be that perfect family, soccer games, picnics, and barbecues. I had a husband who loved me, or I thought he did." My thoughts spiraled. Was this all just a nightmare? How could I have been so foolish? The affair wasn't even worth it. How could I ever make him forgive me? As the officer led me away to read me my rights, I overheard the reporter's voice. "Oh, that's fine. But could we get an interview? Maybe just the two of us? Over dinner, perhaps?" That's when I knew. It was truly over. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.